Alrighty, so there we go. Another day of playoff soccer have just concluded as we saw these two doubleheader game in game one of the first round of the playoffs have concluded. And do you like goals? Because there was not much that was found in either of these games. In fact, there was only one goal that was scored in either of these games. This game actually went to a PK shootout as well. And did I mention the fact that I hate PK shootout? I mean, I swear, I don't know if my heart can take PK shootout, especially when my team is involved, even if they end up on the right side, that is. But anyway, before we talk about this game, let's talk about the Hell is Real derby between Cincinnati versus the Columbus Crew. And I feel like this series can easily go 3 games. In fact, I think both of these games could definitely go 3 games because I think one thing I've seen from both of these games is the fact that there really isn't a lot separated between both of these games in terms of the competition that is. And you could argue that in this game, this was really a game that will decide who, of course, will have that clinical moment and who will have that magical moment to score that goal that win the Hell is Real derby. And more times than not, I've said before that Columbus definitely has the advantage of that because they've shown it in the Hell is Real derby in the past. But in this game, Cincinnati says not so fast. They finally got a signature moment in this one against the Columbus Crew, and I think when you look at the chances that they created and the overall actually that they have, I think they won that battle as well, and you would say that they definitely deserve to get this 1-0 result. Now, in the first half, the first shot of the derby, see Evander hits it right to Schulte, as I thought Cincinnati was on the front foot and once again was looking to get an early lead. Remember, in the last meeting between both of these teams at TKO Stadium, Cincinnati was 2-0 up relatively quickly. So yeah, this has been kind of one of the problem with Columbus this season. They mentioned that Columbus this season, they have conceded 12 goals in the first 15 minutes. The first 15 minutes has always been a problem this season for Columbus or for Nazi side, and they definitely look like it. I mean, they were all over the plays. They were kind of hanging on for dear life. Schulte would then deny Evander, but he gave up a rebound and it fell to Giddy, and he had a chance to put this one in, but he hits it right back to Schulte, and I'm pretty sure every Columbus fans are very happy the fact that the clock hits 15 because again, Cincinnati could have easily been 1-0 up inside the first 15 minutes. In fact, Denke would head it onto the roof of the net as the flag went up in the 15 minutes. Cincinnati was just pounding on the door. Columbus definitely was reeling early. Again, part of the reason of that is because they have been very vulnerable in the first 15 minutes of this season. But the shots were 3-1 for Cincinnati early, and again, once the first 15 minute is over, it feels like Columbus started to settle into this game. They survived the nervy moment that they have done pretty much throughout the season and started to settle into it. Saltano would deny Arson from close range. Columbus did start to control some of the possession. One of the interesting thing whenever we see these two teams play against each other is that both of these teams kind of play similar style. Both of these teams like to dominate possession. They likes to work the ball, but in a game like this, somebody's gonna have to have the ball, and somebody is not going to have the ball. And in many ways, I feel like throughout this game, it was kind of like half and half. The fact that there's been moments where Cincinnati was dictating the game, and there was moments that Columbus was dictating the game. And I guess that's another example to shows you that since both of these teams likes to have the ball, you're gonna have a fair share of time that both of these teams is going to have that spell play where they're going to dictate the game. But yeah, up to this point, Columbus was the one that dictated the game, started to get some possession. Though Evander did go for Olympico, but it puts over in the 38th minute before Enchiki would puts one into the side netting as Cincinnati started to gain the momentum back, trying to press again for the lead. And they almost got it if it wasn't for Patrick Schulte absolutely robbing Brenner from close range. I mean, that was a great save there for Patrick Schulte. There was definitely question about his form coming into this game. He hasn't been the same Patrick Schulte that we've seen in the past in these last couple of games and giving up soft goals as well. But man, he was sharp in this one, and that save by Patrick Schulte looked like the Patrick Schulte that we know of. But we do head to halftime, scoreless in the Hell is Real derby. In the second half, Lapanainen would puts it over from close. Columbus definitely controlled the possession early, but not much chances really created up to this point. Buka was in on goal there, but he puts that one over in the 63rd minute before Giddy would puts it way wide from long range, and you just kind of had a sense that as the time winds down, this feels like it's one of those games where we've seen this before in the playoffs, where in the playoffs things are definitely going to be more tighter. There's not going to be as much goals as what we see in the regular season, and it feels like maybe this is going to be one of those games where one goal might be enough. Who is going to get that vital moment to win this Hell is Real derby. Well, Herrera tried to do so, but he puts it wide from long range, and then 1 minute later, Cincinnati got that goal. It's Kevin Denke, the one that gets the opening goal from Cincinnati. Not great defending there from Columbus. I mean, Columbus throughout this game they were defending pretty well, probably one of the best that they have in recent time because the defense has been a big issue for this Columbus team down the stretch. But yeah, they defend pretty well for the most part. But they switched off there. And in the game like this, especially with so much at stake in this game, as we get closer to the game, you just can't switch off. And because of the fact that they switched off, they reacted late. Danke basically had a free chance right in front of the goal, and yeah, just like that, it's 1-0 in favor of Cincinnati. 2KL was definitely bouncing at that part. Gasak did look to answer, but he hits it right to Saotano as the flag went up, so it wouldn't have counted if it goes in. Brenner then looked to finish, but he puts it wide, and then he had a shot that was deflected right to Schulte in the 80th minute. As Cincinnati, they know that, yeah, even though I know this is their specialty, Pat Nolan likes to win games 1-0 in the past. You just kind of had sense that they don't want to take any risk. They have seen before where they blow leads late against the crew in this Hell is Real derby. So a second goal will definitely be more comfortable. But fortunate for them, Columbus didn't really generate too much pressure late in this one. And yeah, in the end, Cincinnati they get the 1-0 lead or the 1-0 win in this one and get the 1-0 lead heading into the second game of this Hell is Real derby that will now be shipped to Lower Dock Field in Columbus. And I gotta say, I'm very looking forward to how this battle is gonna be. It feels like it's a chess match, which the way that this game has played out, and really live up to its expectation of what I thought was going to happen in such a high profile first round matchup like what we see in this one. The shots in this one, 12 shots committed 6 that Columbus had, 3 shots on goal committed 5 that Cincinnati has, 4 shots off target committed 2 that Columbus had, 1 shot that was blocked with a 3 that Cincinnati has, and possession wise, 48% possession compared to 52% possession that Columbus has in this game. And again, for Columbus, the good news is they're back at home for the Hell is Real derby. I'm pretty sure they'll definitely match the energy that we saw here at TKL Stadium. I mean, it was a party atmosphere in this one, especially after they scored the the goal that is Cincinnati, and we'll see whether or not Columbus in game two will respond. I mean, I really want this to go 3 games because I do think that again, there's really not much separate between both of these teams. This is why when I saw this matchup and why if you're Cincinnati, I mean, as much as I know you want revenge against Columbus, in many ways in a derby game like that, especially early in the round, that might not be the team to do so. Now, in the end, they could still win the this and pretty much exercise some demons that they had in the past that Columbus seems to always come through in these big moments. But yeah, they do have the lead here, and let's see how Columbus will respond in game number 2, which will happen on Sunday. Now, moving on in terms of the next match. So, yeah, this game went all the way to a PK shootout. And honestly, with the way that this game also ended with a home win as well, and keep in mind, up to this point, every home team has been able to win in game 1 of the first round of the playoffs. And that's when I really got very nervous because, again, I remember what happened in 2019 when pretty much every single team won at home, and Minnesota was kind of like one of the last teams to play, and they end up losing that game against the Galaxy, and they were the only team to lose in that round as well. And I'm just like, when I saw this, I'm like, oh boy, I feel like Minnesota is going to do it again. They're going to lose at home in this one, and especially with the way that the form that they've been in, and the fact that home form has once again been a big issue for this team. I thought that this was going to be a game where it feels like maybe Minnesota could be heading to Lumen Field and heading to Seattle with their backs against the wall. And to be fair, in this game, there was times where, especially in the second half, man, that was very frustrating to see the second half how the Loons perform. I mean, they were just getting completely pinned deep. Seattle had so many opportunity to win this one, but thankfully it went to a PK shootout. And if there's one thing about a PK shootout for Minnesota is that they actually have done pretty well in the PK shootout. Just don't look at what happened in the Leeds Cup. That is, they actually have done well, and a big part is Dane Sinclair, of course, have done well in terms of coming up big in the PK show. But and he was kind of a factor in this one as well. But really, the factor in this one was the woodwork because yeah, there was a hat trick of woodwork that was struck in the PK shootout. And the other thing I will say with PK shootouts as well, I feel like the advantage will definitely give to Minnesota. Consider Seattle. I know they have had history of winning PK shots before, but not as much as what we see with Minnesota as well. And I'm also kind of surprised they decided not to put Andrew Thomas in goal for the shootout because he was very good in the Leeds Cup in terms of the shootout that Seattle had in terms of winning it. But nevertheless, before we get to talk about the shootout, let's talk about the game itself. So 2 minutes in, Dane Sinclair would deny Morris in the near post after just 70 seconds, and as expected, Seattle had all the possession. The Loons were sitting deep and trying to counter, and it was a very nervy start for the Loons. I mean, they definitely did not start on time in this one. Seattle definitely came to play early in this one. Yamar would then head it onto the roof of the net before Longwane was in on goal there, but he missed that one wide, and that was a huge chance for Bongi Longwane. Now, there was also a bit controversial with this one because it looked like Reagan might have pushed Longwane as Longwane strikes this one. Either way, I feel like Longwane should do better, and this is a prime example of the fact that Bongi is just not in form right now. If he was in form, he would have put that one into the back net, even with that little push. And also, if you want my opinion in terms of whether or not if that was a penalty or not, I'm gonna say that in the end, I think that's the right call, mainly because yes, there is a little bit of a push, and you could definitely make a case, especially if you're a Minnesota United fan like myself. But in a stage like this, in the playoffs like this, I think it was the right call that they'll let that one go. And of course, if it was given, then I also wouldn't blame Seattle fans being very upset about this because it definitely looked pretty soft as uh well, but either way, the ref didn't call it. But yeah, the fans they didn't appreciate it, and they told the referee that he really sucked. In fact, the referee was told he sucked throughout the entire game. This was probably the most ref you suck chant I've seen in the playoffs as well. So yeah, never knew that Minnesota fans were so vocal about that. I mean, I'm not surprised by that because I've been to some games at Allianz where yeah, the fans they definitely express their feeling toward the referee at times in Minnesota United games, especially games that goes against their team. That being said, in the 17th minute, Trantis would puts it wide from long range as the Loons have definitely started to sail into this game after a very nervy start to start this game. Longwane then had a shot that was clear off the line by Rodon. There was some emergency defending in this game as well. Rosales then curls it wide from long range, and then Rodon had a header that was clear off the line from the corner. Set piece defending was a huge problem for the Loons in this one early, and it would continue in this one. And that's kind of surprising to me because for the most part, Minnesota has been pretty good this season defending set pieces, and for the most part, Seattle has not been good this season on set pieces. Yes, they did score a set piece goal against NYCFC on decision day, but that was like one of the first set piece goal and a goal come from a corner in a very long time as well. They're not a dangerous team in the set piece, but they definitely were in this one, and it was causing all sorts of havoc for the Loons in this one. But I also thought that the game has been very open, and that was kind of not what I expected because, I mean, in a way, maybe with the way that both of these teams tend to like to go on transition most of the time, but I also thought that, with the way that Minnesota likes to sit deep and Seattle like to control the possession as well. I thought that was kind of the game that we would see, and we kind of saw a lot of that in the second half. But up to this point, it was a very open game. Both of these teams were going very direct early in this one. Rothrock would then puts it over at the top of the arc before Rusnak had a shot that was deflected and goes from the corner after again Minnesota just turned the ball over in bad spot. They got away with one there because that should have been 1-0 in favor of Seattle with the way that really chalked the ball over in a very bad spot. But Seattle started to dominate the possession again. But again, the question is, can they break down this rigid low block that Minnesota was putting? On the other end, Fry would deny Triandes from close range. Nick Torres Triandes, man, what a game it is, and what a gem of a signing he is, and a guy that it's safe to say that I think Minnesota has finally solved their number six problem and finally found a perfect replacement for Ozzy Alonso. I mean, he was he was a Rolls Royce when it comes to that midfield as well. He did all the dirty work and also create some attacking moments as well, and it just kind of shows you that I'm very excited to see what he can do next season as well, and just it's almost like it's a huge relief the fact that finally after a couple of years where us Loons fans has been desperate for the front office to get a type of number six that Trend seems like he could offer. yeah, I'm very excited to see what he can do for the rest of the playoffs and heading into next season as well. But we do head to halftime, scoreless between both of these teams. In the second half, there was a shout for a penalty for Minnesota not given, and that preceded by a ref you suck chant because yeah, that's kind of the theme in this game. Dane Sinclair then denied Rodon from close before Morris had a header that was clear off the line. It wouldn't have counted either way because the whistle already gone it because it was a foul in the box. And again, the Loons they continue to have a lot of problem defending set pieces. There was just way too many times where I see Seattle player being open in the box there, and I just kind of had a feeling, oh boy, they're going to concede a set piece eventually with all the fire that they've been playing defending it as well. In the 67th minute, Alex Rodon almost scored an own goal in the near post. Speaking of set pieces, Minnesota definitely had their fair share of set pieces. They weren't doing that well in terms of set pieces, and main part of that is the fact that Joaquin Perret, this was a really poor game from him. This felt like very similar to last season against RSL, where not only at times he was a turnover machine, but the delivery was just not there from him whatsoever in this one. But this was one of the time where actually this was a throw in from Michael Vauxhall from a long throw in. They mentioned on the broadcast that Seattle really practiced that throughout the week, and I think they did a good job in terms of defending it as well. And I'm surprised not many team does the same thing as well because that's literally what Minnesota does. They live and die off of set pieces, so that is going to be the thing you need to be drilled on. And if you're able to stop Minnesota in terms of those set pieces of transition, then congratulations, you have a good chance of beating Eric Ramsey, Minnesota team. But in the 70th minute, Diaz would then heads it wide from close, and I just kind of feel like, yeah, this game feel like it's like the last one again. It feels like one goal might be enough, or it's just have PK written all over it. Dane Sinclair then denied Muswowski in the near post. One thing I also mentioned before, but I didn't write it here on the board. Seattle really started to dominate the possession, and the Loons again they were just getting pinned deep, and that's kind of where I started to get concerned because as much as I know that's kind of the style that Aaron Ramsey like to do, we seen before where you when you get pinned deep so deep like this, it only take one switched off moment, and next thing you know, Seattle can score. And I've seen this season where this team has that lack of concentration for one moment, and next thing you know, it could be 1-0 in favor of the Sounders. And luckily, it didn't happen in this one. This was a very organized defense by Minnesota, one of the best defensive display they've shown throughout the season. But in the 80th minute, Dane Sinclair would deny Muswowski in the near post. I say good defensive display, but late in the game, man, there was some nervy moment, especially the Moose. There was a couple of times he was open in the box, and I'm pretty sure he would definitely would not want to look back in terms of some of the missed chances that he had in this one. Pereira would then post it just wide on the free kick before Muswowski heads it high from 5 yards down the first minute of stoppage time. Manungu then puts it wide as the flag went up there, so wouldn't have counted even if it goes in. But the Sounders were pushing late for the winner, and this is also where I'm starting to maybe get a little PTSD of what we saw in the semifinal in the U.S. Open Cup when Minnesota was just minutes away and literally seconds away of going to PK, but they conceded a late goal, and I'm just thinking, oh my God, is this gonna happen again? And there was a chance that it could have happened because Manungu had a good look here, but his shot was deflected and goes wide. But luckily for the Loons, they survived. They go to a PK shootout, which is something that, again, I don't like PK shootout, but I'm just kind of glad the fact that I did not see a repeat of what I saw in the U.S. Open Cup semifinal, them absolutely breaking my heart and every Loons fans inside that stadium hard in terms of giving up a late goal to not even go to the PK shootout. But indeed, we do go to the PK shoot out here, and let's just say that the PK shootout was pretty ugly. I mean, so far for in terms of the PK shootout, I mean, we did only have one PK shootout so far. It hasn't gone relatively long. It's not like in the Leeds Cup where in the Leeds Cup we saw just incredibly marathon kind of PK show and some PKs that are just hit with precision. You can't say that in this game. I mean, it was pretty to see in terms of the PK show. So ugly, the fact that there was 3 posts that was hit between round number 3 and round number 4. It started with Christian Rodon hitting the post there. In fact, both Rodon brother actually missed the penalty in this one. And then Julian Gresso had a chance to win it, and he struck the post as well. But here comes Danny Leva, a chance to trying to send this one deeper as well. But he struck the post as well. So yeah, not a great look in terms of the PK shootout. And again, this is the thing that Seattle, as I said, even though I know they won the PK out earlier this season against Puebla in the Leeds Cup. They're not a team that has known to do well in the PK shootout in the past, and yeah, this kind of an example of that. As in the end, Minnesota does get the win in this one. I mean, do they deserve to win this one? I don't know. I mean, all I know is that I won't be surprised. This might go 3 games, especially the way that, again, just like this one, I think there's really not much separated between both of this team. And I know this team also is much better when they're playing on the road than they are at home. But I mean, again, I still feel like it's too much to ask for Minnesota to somehow beat Seattle 4 times this season. I mean, they've done it 3 times now, and it feels like a complete miracle. But again, they need to play better than what they did in this game. This was not a great performance by Minnesota by any means of necessary, and this is also where I kind of have the concern about this team, where if the set pieces are not falling their way, and also the transition was not going their way in this one, then this is kind of the performance we see from Minnesota. And I don't think this is kind of a performance that's going to go get them pretty deep into the playoffs, or even maybe beat Seattle one more time out of these last 2 games. But the shots in this one, 11 shots compared to 15 that Seattle has. Both teams had 4 shots on goal, 6 shots off target for the 4 the Sounders had, 6 shots on the block for the 1 that Minnesota has, and possession-wise, 64% possession compared to 36% possession that Minnesota has in this one. And likewise, for the Seattle Sounders, obviously they have their back against the wall now heading back at home. But I will say that, in this game, they'll definitely be confident. The fact that they were able to do a good job shutting down this Loons attack, and especially doing very well in terms of set pieces. Now, all they need to do is definitely need to do some training in terms of PK shootout, because, yeah, it was pretty ugly to see how they miss 3 out of their five PKs in terms of that. And yeah, they cannot afford to do it again if this game does go to another PK shootout in either game number 2 in the next one, or maybe a decided game 3 back at Allianz in about a week and a half. So, but there you have it. That is pretty much it in terms of the review of both of these games. We got 2 more games. That's going to finish up game 1 in terms of round 1s of the playoffs. We have another 4v5 seed between Charlotte and NYCFC tomorrow, and then the last game of game 1 of the round 1 will happen on Wednesday between LAFC versus Austin. And then in terms of the weekend action, we actually will have 5 games that's happened on Saturday. Again, I'm glad that in terms of game number 2, they actually schedule games on weekends, because one thing I will say is that the attendance for this game was obviously good, because it's Hell is Real Derby. But one thing I don't think people have mentioned before, and I don't think the commentator have mentioned before, the attendance was not good in this game at Allianz Field. I saw a lot of empty seats at Allianz Field, and I was kind of shocked seeing how much empty seats that is. I mean, yes, I understand that it is a Monday, and I understand it's a night game as well, and it's a cold game as well, and not to mention, I do not know why this is the second year in a row where Minnesota gets a playoff game and they start at 8 p.m. That's just way too late to start a game. Not a lot of fans are going to do that on a Monday night, especially. But I was kind of disappointed to see the fact that the stands were pretty empty. Like compared to this into the regular season where Allianz is regularly packed. Yeah, I was kind of surprised and kind of feel disappointed in many ways that the stands weren't completely packed. But again, that maybe is due to the fact that, again, it was stupid, the fact that this started at 8 p.m. And it's even more stupid the fact that this happened on Monday as well. And a game that also isn't a game that actually wins the series for Minnesota. I guess maybe that's kind of the reason why it kind of pushed some of the Loons fan away from going to this one. But there's no doubt if there is going to be a game 3, the stands is probably going to be packed. No matter what. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.